covers UConn sports, MLB, and, of course, the Connecticut Sun. Not going to be the Connecticut Sun for much longer. Dom Amore with the Hartford Current joins us now. It's Adam, Ben, and myself today, Dom. Your take on this, like Ben said in a text message this morning, worst kept secret around that this team was going to be sold and possibly sold to somebody up in Boston with the Celtics. What happens next now? I mean, do they stay for a year? Do they move immediately? When are the Sun out of here?
Well, the plan is they're going to stay for a year while they get their ducks in a row in Boston. Now, from what we've learned, I credit our reporter, Emily Adams, who's done a great job of chasing the news on this. You know, there is a group in Connecticut trying to buy the team and put it in the refurbished People's Bank Arena now in Hartford. And hey, I hope they succeed. I hope I'm proven wrong. I'd be delighted. This team is sold to the group in Boston for an enormous amount of money, and they move it up to play in TD Garden, where they've already proven, at least with a couple of random games, that they could sell it out. So, it's easy to forget. They're actually televised by NBC Boston. They're televised. They're on TV in Boston, not Connecticut. Mm-hmm. That's been going on for a couple of years. So, to me, they have a fan base ready for them in Boston. A lot of their fans now come from Rhode Island and Eastern Mass. So I feel like, and I agree with Ben, I just felt all along like this has been happening in stages before our eyes for the last couple of years, and they're going to be Boston bound. But again, it's not done, and I would love to be proven wrong about that. I hope they stay.
The question I never came to an answer with, Dom, is like, I understand Boston makes a lot of sense for this franchise. I understand why Boston would want them, and the minority owner would want to even pay that huge price tag of $300+ million to get the team. I don't know why Mohegan wants to sell it. That was my biggest thing, is like, I just see so many advantages for them. I think the stock is good and it's only going to rise. I don't understand why that's not a viable product in Uncasville.
Well, it is a viable product in Uncasville. I mean, there's no question. I mean, they were the first WNBA franchise to turn a profit. They've been turning a profit there where other teams have been losing money. So it's certainly viable. But it is an 8,000-seat arena. And the fact is, they paid $10 million for it. They've made at least some profit.
Wait, hold the phone. How much? They only paid 10, and they're going to sell it for $325.
You got it.
That is a record.
I was going to say, don't all of your investments turn out that way, Rob? No.
Well, wow. Even the Yankees took 50 years for that kind of return. No, so that's the thing. It's really an offer they can't refuse, and from what I understand, from what I've read elsewhere, the tribe does have some debt from some of their other projects, and I don't think they necessarily want to sink 40, 50, 70, 80 million into a practice facility that they need. So for them, they have an opportunity to get out, make 33 times, make the money back 33 times fold, and then they could take those 20 dates and put something else in that arena to get the foot traffic in the casino. So for them, I think it's just a matter of getting out, cashing in while the cashing in is good. And from the WNBA standpoint, I'm sure there's a feeling that they've just outgrown the Connecticut market. There was a time when a small market that was crazy about women's basketball was exactly what that league needed. But now I think I'm sure they feel they need to be in bigger markets. But what I don't understand, and Tara Sullivan in the Globe hit the nail on the head yesterday, what's the WNBA thinking that they're that they're throwing cold water on this, and maybe they want to move the team in Houston instead? You've got Boston ready, clamoring for a team, and you're going to tell them, well, we're going to send this team to Houston, and we'll give you an expansion team in 10 years. They should strike while the Boston iron is hot, and that's what I think ultimately they will do. They were a little offended that the word leaked out without their blessing, but I think they'll get over that pretty quickly for everything that Boston has to offer, not the least of which is $325 million.
Tina Charles is somebody that, for the UConn Huskies, one of the greatest ever, now Connecticut Sun. Read some quotes from her just in a reaction to all of this, and it's been a protracted leak of this information. So even though we got more updates in the last 24 hours, it's been weeks. And so do you get a sense, whether it's you, whether it's Emily, whether these players are sentimental and wistful about this potential move? What is the emotion that these players are thinking? It's almost like moving out of your childhood home, but you're moving into a newer mansion somewhere down the road.
Yeah, well, I don't sense that kind of sentimentality when it comes to this. A lot of the players feel like there's nothing to do around the casino. They're kind of cooped up there. They don't have the practice facility. And I thought it was, I'll cut her some slack because she's a rookie. But when Rivers when they played in Boston, and Rivers said, "Well, if I had my way, we would relocate here."
Yeah.
That's not necessarily a good look when you're trying to sell season tickets for next year in Mohegan Sun. No, I don't think so. I think the players would like to be in a big city. They might. I think they would certainly prefer Hartford to Mohegan Sun. I mean, really, you wonder why they didn't play some games in Hartford through the years all along. That might have changed things too, or if they played here at some point. But I just feel like like as I said, this has been coming for a long time, and I think this is where it's going to go. But there are probably a few more obstacles to get through before we get there. But as I wrote this morning, here in Connecticut, we've seen this movie before, and we know how it ends for us in Connecticut.
Yeah, and here's the numbers. So the last two games that they've played up at TD Gardens, they've averaged, because they sold out, 19,156. They're averaging at the Sun home 7,650. That would take them 5 games to average one game.
And that's almost sold out at that 7,650.
Exactly, those two games. And then getting back to, like you said, this guy's going to throw $100 million into a new facility. There's way more stuff for people to do, including the opposing teams. That's kind of a big thing. I mean, I can honestly tell you, when I would go to like Houston and some of these other places, there was this giant galleria it was attached to, and you could go shopping, you could do a bunch of stuff, you could eat, and then you just take a cab over to the Astrodome. So I think a lot of these women, probably want to get out and do some stuff other than just sitting at the casino, even though it is a unbelievable casino. But your thoughts though. I mean, I know it's late, but it's almost like an afterthought here with our governor and the state of Connecticut. It's pretty much a done deal. It's going to go to Boston. It's just right now it's waiting the approval of the WNBA, and now you want to fight to keep them here. I almost think, and you want to put them over here at, I don't even know what it's called. It's
People's Bank
Arena. And it's like, I wouldn't, if I was a WNBA star and I could go to TD Gardens and have a brand new $100 million facility or play at that place, yeah, I'd like to go to Boston.
Well, yeah, that's exactly the point.
No-brainer.
Now, from what I understand, the Connecticut group, or the group that's trying to buy it for Connecticut, it includes some pretty significant people, and they have been in on this for a while. Like, they have made an offer that's supposedly competitive to that 325, but ultimately, I just think it'd be very hard to sell to the WNBA. If they're going to leave the casino anyway, and it's Boston or Hartford, they would go to Boston. I'm sure. I mean, they'd be crazy not to. And the other factor too is that if they go to Boston, they're not really relocating because they're a New England team. They're in New England, and as I said, a lot of their fans come from there anyway. Come to the casino from east of Connecticut, east and north of Connecticut. So, and they're on TV in Boston. So to me, it really the red carpet's been rolled out for a while for them to go to Hartford, for them to go to Boston. Again, I'd love to see them in Hartford. I don't want to poo-poo it, throw cold water on it. I'll be as delighted as anyone if I'm wrong and they end up playing long-term in the refurbished, arena in Hartford. But I just don't see it. I just can't see it.
Talking to Dom Amore from the Hartford Courant, why didn't the Yankees want to get rid of Spencer Jones last week?
Well, you can probably play back my comments about 15 other guys through the years that I could say this about. If you don't want to give him up for a player now that can help you, then why not bring him up to the major leagues if he's that good? He's been in the minor leagues 4 years. He played in the SEC. He's 24. So all I could say is they better have a plan for him to play next year. They better have an opening. He better have every opportunity in spring training to win a starting job with them next year, or unless they're going to trade him in the offseason for some big star. But as far as if you really think he's that good, then you better have a way to play him, because otherwise he's Estevan Florial and Peraza, who they gave away, and a number of other players that they didn't want to trade and ended up having no value. So yeah, I'm a little bit, I'm at a loss for that, but I do think, you couldn't make up what happened to the Yankees on Friday, right? They get all these guys, everybody's pumped up, and every single one of them contributes to blowing the game. It makes you think that maybe as bad as they were Friday, maybe they will. That was their thing. They got it out of their system, and they'll be better. But no, it's the problem with the Yankees, though, Ben, they had too many things to fix. They couldn't possibly fix them all. So they loaded up on the bullpen, which made sense. But, when you bring in 7 players on July 31st, that tells you two things. One, you really didn't have a good team if you need 7 new players. And B, you're probably not getting quality, you're getting quantity. I thought the Red Sox did the right thing. There was no reason for them to go get 4 or 5 so-so players. They're playing great. If they had a chance to get one big guy, I'd say do it. But they made a couple of small additions, and they've just kept on rolling. So, it's when you have as many holes as the Yankees have, as many holes as the Mets have, and you're not playing well, you're under 500 for 2 months, it's hard to fix all of that in one day.
I know you're not somebody that, with your lifetime in baseball, a knee-jerk reaction guy, but at this point,
you figured that out.
You've dropped breadcrumbs, Dom, over the years.
I'm like Adlai Stevenson in the world of Joe McCarthy.
With Aaron Boone, and we talked about this in the segment preceding you, what do you think about his leadership style with the way things are going? And it's always easy to criticize a guy when things aren't going well, but just in terms of the type of leadership he does or doesn't provide at a moment where a season can head in a number of different directions.
Well, keep in mind that I don't cover the team on a day-to-day basis like I used to. Now, when I was covering the team on a day-to-day basis, if somebody screwed up, Joe Torre, I knew, because I was around, would be very, very hard on him, on that player, behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. He wouldn't necessarily light him up in the dugout. He wouldn't necessarily call him out in the media unless he felt there was absolutely no other way to get through to him. But, Joe Torre was just, you knew him, Rob.
Yeah.
He was as tough as there was. But he did it behind the scenes.
And classy at the same time, right?
Yeah. Now, if that's the way Aaron Boone does it, if he lights guys up behind the scenes and tries to, not embarrass them publicly, that's not a bad way for a manager to operate. Players are loyal to you when you do that. They were loyal to Torre because he did that. So I don't necessarily question based on what I see on TV, because I don't know what he's doing behind the scenes, and I suspect that it's a very different Aaron Boone in the clubhouse than what you see on TV. But there are certain things that there's certain things though that he does say in his post-game comments that are a little bit of a head scratcher. Like somebody made a bad throw and they shouldn't have thrown the ball, and he said, well, maybe the runner could have tripped, right, or something like that. Or he said, the other day that Chisholm was just trying to make a play. He might take that. Having his players' backs in public, he might take that a little bit too far. I think maybe there are some times when he needs to maybe make a little bit more of a pointed comment in public. That might be helpful for him to do that. But my guess is that Chisholm got an earful. He just got it in the background. My guess is that Volpe gets an earful now and again, but he gets it in the background. That's my guess. If that's the case, that's probably why he's lasted as long as he has.
In my case, my manager would just want to wrestle me to death. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's big difference in eras.
Different
Well,
people,
but- yeah,
Different
methods.
people that get pissed at you after a game. Nah, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No, but I mean, hey, people say, "Gee, what about Billy Martin? He used to do this."
Billy would fight you in the dugout.
Yeah.
I remember Reggie and
Yeah,
him. That was
and
great.
You know what? Billy got fired 9 times.
That's right. But he got hired 8 times. So,
He got hired 8 times.
That's a good point, Dan.
Dom, you are the best, my man. I appreciate your time, buddy, and thanks for making our show so much more wonderful every time you come on. We appreciate you.
Hey, you got it, Rob, anytime.
All right. Dom Amore, everybody, Hartford Current. Go online and read his stuff. We'll come back to First Dibs. Question of the day.